Hi, everybody. And today we are going to talk about 10 weird and interesting facts. And for the most part, I believe these are from like horror movies or people that has been in horror movies. I have one that is from somebody that unfortunately is from Twilight, but I thought it was interesting, so I included it. All right, and I got all these out of a book, which I'll show a picture of the book at the end of this. So I'm not making any of this up. I've got all this out of a book. So unless the book is incorrect, it's called Weird Stats and Morbid Facts from Rug Morgue magazine. Is the book I got all of this out of. So unless they are incorrect, I am incorrect. So I thought these were really interesting. First off, and I know I'm going to pronounce her name wrong. Actually, I'm not even going to try. The star from The Fog, the girl that the DJ from the first one, Adrienne Barbeau. I know I'm saying her name wrong. I am horrible at pronunciation. Well, anyway, she provided uncredited voice for the computer in John Carpenter's The Thing from 1982. I thought that was pretty interesting. So her voice is the computer in John Carpenter's The Thing. Now, the next three are fears and phobias. Actually, four. I got four of them. Are fears and phobias of different actors. Now, I got Brad Pitt because he was in World War Z. Brad Pitt. Now, I'm not going to give the technical name of the fear because I'm just going to mutilate it. I just know I'm going to mutilate it. But there is technical names to these fears and phobias. I don't want to. I had enough trouble saying the poor lady's name. So, Brad Pitt has a fear of sharks, like a phobia of sharks. Christopher Lee has a fear of spiders. Apparently, his arachnophobia was so bad, and there was a movie, and I should have typed it in, but I forgot that he was in a movie with spiders. I forget the name of it, but they had to use a stunt arm for the spider to climb up his arm, and I don't know why I didn't type that into this, and I should have. I thought it was interesting. And Alfred Hitchcock had a fear of eggs, and like I said, these are all like fears, phobias, like legitimate phobias, and they all have technical scientific names. I can't pronounce them. H.P. Lovecraft fear and hated fish so much that if he went to like a dinner party that was serving seafood, he would storm out of the dinner party. How crazy is that? Having a fear or a phobia and apparently hatred of something like fish that you would just legitimately storm out of a dinner party. Apparently, H.P. Lovecraft would. Excuse me. The first Oscar ever awarded to a horror film was Best Actor for Frederick March's performance in 1932, Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde. Thought that was pretty cool. So the first Oscar ever to be given to a horror film was in 1932, and it was for Best Actor. Next, Twilight. Robert Patterson. Obviously he's the vampire. I forget the vampire's name because I hated that movie so badly. I only saw the first one. I never seen any of the rest of them. I know there's a bunch of fangirls and whatnot, but yeah, I couldn't do that movie. Apparently, he has ancestry through Ancestry.com traced all the way back to Vlad the Impaler. How crazy is that? He played a vampire crappy vampire, but he played a vampire that is traced back to what Dracula was based on. Now that's pretty trippy. The original vampire, Vlad the Impaler, that inspired Dracula, and he is related to Sparkles. Think about that. Dracula is related to Sparkles. And yes, I call him Sparkles. John Carpenter named two of his characters from, 1978 Halloween after characters in Alfred Hitchcock's films. Tommy Doyle from 1974 Rear Window, and Sam Loomis from 1960 Psycho. Now, I've never seen Rear Window. I do believe I have an Alfred Hitchcock set, and I think it's on there. But I've never seen Rear Window. I need to see that. But I don't remember a character named Sam Loomis in Psycho. I'm going to have to rewatch that, because I don't remember a character. It must have been like the investigator or the cop or something. Maybe. I don't know. I don't remember. But yeah, I'll have to go and check that out. But it says in this book that these characters are pulled off of these movies. Stephen King used the Winchester Mansion for his inspiration for Rose Red. Now, if you've seen Rose Red and know the legend between the Winchester Mansion, you're going to see where you understand the inspiration. Because, excuse me, like the legend of the Winchester Mansion is I can't think of her name, Mrs. Winchester thought the spirits of people that was killed by the Winchester guns was coming to haunt her, and telling her to keep building onto her mansion. And I think the whole time she was alive, there was constant building on this. And the same pretty much goes for Rose Red. I don't really remember the legend upon it of why they did a lot of building. It's been forever I've seen that, and it's so long for me to go sit through it. It's a good movie. It's so long. I don't remember. I want to say it's like 6 hours long. I don't know. Don't quote me on that. It is a long movie. It was like a mini series that lasted. I remember when it premiered on TV, and it lasted several days to get the whole movie in there. I own it somewhere, but it's a long movie. And Stephen King does a cameo. He's a pizza delivery man in that movie. I thought that was pretty cool. I remember seeing that and seeing him as the pizza delivery man. Oh, quick side trip. We've been watching, we watched that Lock and Key, Joe Hill, that is on Netflix. And if you don't know, Joe Hill is Stephen King's son. Which, another fact out of that book, apparently in Creepshow, there was a little boy named Billy, and I don't remember if it was Creepshow 1 or Creepshow 2. I should have wrote it in my notes, but I only wanted to do 10. But I'm getting sidetracked and going on. But apparently Joe Hill was in that movie as a little boy named Billy. So I didn't know that. So I thought that was pretty cool. So that was in that book as well. But anyway, back to Joe Hill and Lock and Key. We're watching Lock and Key, and if you know what Stephen King looks like and you've seen Joe Hill, you know that he is almost a spitting image of his dad. It's hard to even say that he is not related. I mean, he is a spitting image of his dad's. So we're watching that, and I believe it was the last episode. I could be wrong on that, because it's been a little bit since we finished it. We were watching it, and I don't think my husband had ever seen what Joe Hill looked like, or even comprehended that he was his son. But we're watching that, and Joe Hill makes a cameo in Lock and Key. And like I said, I'm pretty sure it's the last episode, but it's close to the end of it, if it's not the last episode. And my husband goes, "Oh, there's Stephen King." I'm like, "Yeah, no, that's not Stephen King. That is Joe Hill." And he's like, "What?" I'm like, "Yeah, that's his son." And he just changed his name so he wouldn't be basically recognized as Stephen King's son. But you can't deny he's just like almost a carbon copy of his dad. But I thought that was funny. But anyway, the words bloodstained and assassination was invented by William Shakespeare. Now, I thought that was pretty cool. You know, he's not really horror per se, but he's got a lot of, what's it called? Torment and stuff in his plays and writings and whatnot. But it was in the book. So I guess not, it doesn't have to be all facts from horror movies, just like interesting facts, but still, bloodstained and assassination. William Shakespeare invented those words. I thought that was pretty cool. But like I said, I've got these all out of this book. And there was another fear that I remember reading somewhere. I didn't come across it in the book, but I haven't read it all the way through. And I don't remember where I read it, so I'm not 100% sure how credible this is. But I'm pretty sure it's true. I'm like 90% sure it's true. Stephen King has a fear of the number 13. And apparently this is an actual phobia of the number 13. But yeah, apparently he has a phobia of the number 13. Excuse me. Since it wasn't in the book, I wasn't going to put it in the list, but I went ahead and added it anyway. So like I said, I am like, nah, I got to put my alarm was going off. Now, I didn't put it in there because it wasn't in the book, so I don't remember where I read it. Because I remember I did back in junior high. Now, this is like 20 some odd years ago. I did a paper in English class about Stephen King, and I had learned a bunch. I just discovered him in like junior high because I wasn't allowed to watch horror movies when I was younger, and so about junior high is when I discovered Stephen King. And I want to say my first book was Cujo. I want to say that it's at least the first book I finished, because I'm really bad about reading books. But I want to say it was my first book, and I couldn't tell you what my first movie of Stephen King was. But I quickly got attached to him, and I did a paper on him in junior high. And then later on, you know, in the 90s, that was in the 90s, or might have been late 80s. And then in the 90s, I got introduced to Joe Bob and Monster Vision, and then, you know, Up All Night. So I got even more into the horror movies. But technically, I did kind of start to get into horror movies before that. But I still credit Joe Bob as getting me into horror movies, because I wasn't really that into them, and he made me discover and appreciate them more. So yeah, my love and dedication, I guess I want to put it, to horror movies is all credited to Joe Bob Briggs. I didn't even told him this. But anyway, I'm getting totally off topic. I've went over my 10 facts. It is time for me to go get my son. But I thought those were interesting, and I hope you enjoyed. And if you like hearing more facts, I have a whole book. See? Whole book. I can do more of these videos if you want to hear more facts. I can pick... Sorry, the writing's backwards, because of course I got this in selfie mode. But if you want to hear more facts and stuff, I don't even have other books that I could go through, but that's so much. And each page has like tons of facts. So if you like this video and you want to know more little tidbits and facts about movies, give me a like, give me a comment, subscribe, all that fun stuff. And see you next time. Bye. Help if I have my clicker. Okay, bye.